Hello everyone, my name is Luke, aka The Horror Nerd, and welcome back to YouTube's horror section. It is currently morning here, so I hope you guys are having a great morning as well for anyone who's watching this in the morning. Um, I hope you're having a great morning, great evening, great night, whatever. And thank you once again for stopping by to YouTube's horror section and tuning into another one of my discussion videos. It really means a lot. I'm currently in the process of trying to bounce back on YouTube before school comes around, and before I start getting really, really busy. So I'm just trying to make a few new discussion videos for you guys before I start primarily uploading gameplay videos instead. Because once school does come around, I'm probably not going to have a whole lot of time to just get in front of camera and just talk to you guys about things, the discussions, topics, etc., etc. But I just want to give a quick thank you and shout out to all of my subscribers and my community. I know I don't have a lot on this channel. I'm still considered an extremely small YouTuber, especially since 191 subs is not that much nowadays. But the point is I appreciate whatever I have. I live by a saying, having something is obviously and logically even going to be better than having absolutely nothing. So yeah, I'm thankful for you guys. I'm thankful for my community, my subscribers, those who have stuck by me, and those who have been eagerly awaiting more videos from me, and those who enjoy my videos. But yeah, anyways, now that that's out of the way, let's get straight into the topic of this morning's discussion video. Now, as the title of the video says, I will be explaining today why the horror genre is my favorite, why I'm even called the horror nerd in the first place. So yeah, this is going to be a bit of a more personal video because I will be talking about my origin stories with the horror genre and what had me drawn to it in the first place. So before I say anything, I have to take you back to my early childhood. Now, we live nowadays in a society, world, I guess you can say, where the horror genre is still a little underrated. Um, Despite the fact that the horror genre has amped up its popularity and it is way more popular now than it was before, it's become more mainstream as well, I feel like. The horror genre, I feel like, is still pretty overlooked and a little underrated. In a world where MCU Marvel slop and action movies and comedy movies are not even really funny anymore, and especially that garbage ass anime. I fucking hate anime so much. Like, I despise anime, manga, whatever the fuck you call it. I hate anime. I always will. I've never liked it. I will always hate it. I tried watching anime once, like 4 years ago, and almost the moment I tried watching it, I instantly hated it. Hate the way it looks, hate the way the characters sound. I just don't like anime. Um, why is it that the horror genre is the one genre that I love out of all these others? Because here's the thing, I do like other genres. I do like Marvel because I did grow up with it, as well as with the horror genre, which we will get to in a minute. We'll get to my origins in a minute with this genre. But I do like Marvel. I do like some action movies to an extent. If I had to make a guess about myself, and because I don't even really know actually, like sometimes like my thought process changes. I think the only other genre that comes close to my love for the horror genre would actually probably be comedy. I do really enjoy a good comedy film, especially if it has a good, lighthearted storyline. I do love Jackass. Jackass is one of those comedy franchises that I am pretty invested in. Love Johnny Knoxville. Um, I think Jackass is probably like my favorite comedy series, actually. Just just watching him do all that crazy shit is always. I've been watching it since I was 7 years old. My dad got me into it, and ever since then I've been hooked. But the horror genre is special to me because despite the fact that I did primarily grow up watching Marvel movies and loving superheroes in general, the horror genre was probably my first taste of watching something and actually getting a reaction out of it. I remember watching my first ever horror film. The first ever horror film that I actually watched was the Amityville Horror with Ryan Reynolds, the 2005 one, I think it is. Yeah, I don't know what year it came out. I'm pretty sure it was 2005. Correct me if I'm wrong. Whatever. The point is that was my first. Then it was The Exorcist, and then it was The Omen. So I saw some pretty gnarly horror films. Like, my introduction into the horror genre was not a lighthearted one. I didn't grow up and I didn't start by watching something more casual like Beetlejuice or Scooby Doo or Goosebumps or R.L. Stein's other works. I didn't grow up watching none of that. My introduction into the horror genre was quite extreme. Some of you will even wonder why my parents even allowed me to watch this shit. My parents were pretty chill, so they didn't really mind. As long as I was doing good in school and behaving, they really didn't care what I watched. As long as it didn't have any nudity and sexual stuff, they didn't even really care about the violence. They just didn't really. As long as it didn't have any of the nudity, none of the sexual stuff, and anything sacrilegious, for example. I guess some may consider The Omen sacrilegious, but my parents didn't know exactly what I was watching. After I finished Amityville Horror, I remember the sleepless nights I had, and as much as it fucked me up mentally, I was also kind of drawn to it. It's like a masochist who actually likes having their testicles stepped on by a 7-foot golf girl. I was drawn to it. I liked the way it made me feel despite how much it fucked me up mentally. So every Halloween, I would ask my parents to leave the room, my room, and not disturb me for the whole night. I had like this little tradition where I would like them to not enter my room, just leave me there, not check up on me, and just let me sit there in the dark and just binge watch some of the horror films that I'd be able to find on TV. And that was my introduction into the horror genre. And despite the fact that my introduction was pretty extreme, even the casual, lighthearted stuff actually did scare me a lot when I was a kid. But the thing about the horror genre that I love, the reaction I was talking about is... The reaction it got out of me is one that Marvel movies, which I primarily used to watch, and other cartoons that I used to watch as well, because obviously all kids watched cartoons. I'm guessing I was one of them. My childhood was pretty innocent. Despite all the horror stuff, my childhood was still pretty innocent. The horror genre and horror movies were the only ones that were able to actually get that kind of reaction out of me. The one that would have my heart racing and my thoughts racing almost as fast, because of course my ADHD was still present back then and it was still in its beginning phases. But I had my heart racing, my thoughts racing just as fast, my hands were shaking, and I was petrified as well by a lot of the horror movies that I saw. Now, I know what you guys are going to assume. I like horror because of the way it makes me feel. I like that thrill, but actually it wasn't. It wasn't just the thrill and the way it made me feel that drawn me to horror films. No, what also drawed me to horror films was also the fact that horror was the first genre that I got into that was quite mature. Now, of course, Marvel films, you can say, were also mature. But when I used to watch Marvel films as a kid, I was never really paying attention to the story and the narrative. I was always just looking forward to seeing the action sequences and just watching Iron Man beat up a couple of bad guys, or Spider-Man, or watching Batman's parents get killed again and seeing him become the good guy and fighting all the bad guys. I never really paid that much attention to the narrative, which I guess means I was never really that interested in superheroes in general. I was always just watching those because I wanted to see the action sequences, and just I liked watching superheroes beat up bad guys. But when it came to the horror genre, not only were the movies I was watching, not only were they scaring the crap out of me, but I also was interested in the stories. The horror genre was the first genre where I actually started paying attention more to the narrative and the characters, and that also leads me to my second point about why I love horror, and that's because horror actually taught me a lot as a kid. No gripe towards my parents or anything, or any of the other influential people that I grew up around, but the horror genre taught me a lot. Let's just leave it at that. Some of the films that I would watch they taught me some things, and that's why I started paying attention to them. Besides being interested in the story, I was also invested in the things that the characters went through and the things that happened to them because of the choices that they would make in these horror films, as well as the consequences of their actions and the things that would lead to possibly the death of their loved ones. It kind of stuck with me, and it still does. So the horror genre was the first genre that really gave me a thrill, first one that got a reaction out of me, and also the first genre, the first mature genre that I really got into as a small child. And ever since I started watching horror films as a kid, I did still grow up with Marvel films as well. I never stopped loving Marvel and superheroes, but the two genres I grew up with the most closely was superheroes, the horror genre, and to an extent, the comedy genre as well, because of course Jackass. Um, but still, till this day, nothing gets me as interested as the horror genre. I've kind of built up a bond with it because not only have I grown up primarily with the horror genre, because here's the thing. When I turned around, I want to say around 9 or 10 actually, that's when I actually really started losing interest in Marvel. And till that day, that lost interest has unfortunately or unfortunately not returned. I don't know, because like I do sometimes feel saddened by the fact that Marvel no longer has me interested like it used to when I was a kid. I still like Marvel a teeny weeny bit, but I to be honest, I actually don't like it as much. It's actually a rarity nowadays for a Marvel film to actually get me interested or anything related to Marvel at that point. I hated Deadpool and Wolverine, and I hated everything else that came before it, so I really just don't like Marvel anymore. I guess I just lost my interest for it. Which takes me back to my first point, which I said I guess I probably didn't love Marvel that much anyways, if I lost so much interest for it. But the horror genre and to an extent comedy, those are the two genres that I absolutely adore. And nowadays, the primary reason why I love horror, the primary reason I mean, I don't know what I said earlier, it's actually not for the reason you may be thinking. You probably think, well, you still just like it because you like the thrill, you like the scary stuff, you like how it makes you feel. It gives you that heart racing thrill, and it's like it's almost like getting off on drugs. You know, it's like having that edge. You know, it's like experiencing that heart racing tension and that thrill of the moment. It's like being addicted to it, but no. That's actually not why I love the horror genre as much as I do. When I say I built up a bond with this genre, ever since I stopped loving Marvel and ever since I started, getting more closer with the horror genre, and I started playing horror games, watching horror movies, and watching horror TV shows. I remember watching a lot of the X-Files when I was a kid. I remember whatever I was doing, if I knew the X-Files was going to be on that specific night, I would stop whatever I was doing and I would sit my ass in front of the TV and watch Judge Judy until X-Files came on. But anyways, like I was saying, it's not just the thrills. I mean, yeah, the thrill is there, but to be completely honest, I don't even really feel the thrill as much as I used to when I was a kid. It's still there sometimes, depending on what I'm watching or what I'm playing, but the real reason why I love the horror genre as much as I do is actually because of the stories. You see, the thing about the horror genre is it's the way that the horror genre is that people can use to tell stories with. It's the unique vibe and the settings that only a horror film can provide. It's what the horror genre provides that people can use what it provides to tell such incredible stories and get you invested in such incredible entries in franchises that I love. Not just Resident Evil or Silent Hill, but there are so many horror franchises that have entries that are, I'm not obsessed with them, but And it's also sequels as well. Like, a lot of horror fans hate sequels, and yes, most sequels can be bad, just like in any other genre, but it's the narrative that people can tell with, a franchise within the horror genre. That's another reason why I love it so much. I loved the Dark Picture series. That's a horror game series, if you don't know. And in terms of movies, I enjoyed the Purge movies for one. I enjoyed Poltergeist, especially when I was a kid. I love Poltergeist even till this day. Ghostbusters as well, and I'm a fan of every genre of horror as well, every subgenre. Whether it's casual, more lighthearted horror like Ghostbusters or Goosebumps, or the more gnarly stuff like Insidious or Sinister or Hereditary and The Conjuring. I love all of it. Horror will always be my favorite genre of all time. I love everything about it. There is not a single thing about the horror genre that has me dissatisfied or has me wishing it wasn't the way it was. I love every single thing about this genre. I even love the cliche and the cheesiness that the horror genre has, and it's also a genre that gives me a lot of comfort. The horror genre is, of course, very fun for me, not just because of the narrative and the stories, but also the concept of the horror genre as well. Whether it be in a horror movie or a horror game, I also just like the concept that horror provides with its stories that can only be given with the horror genre. Because, like I said before, there's unique things about the horror genre. Think of it like tools. The horror genre has unique tools that allows people to use those tools to in turn create unique stories and unique narrative driven movies or games. And that's just one of the reasons why I love the horror genre. Second, like I just said, is because of just how much of a fun genre it is. It is a very fun genre as well, and that leads me to say that yes, part of the thrill is still there. When I play a survival horror game, for example, I do like the feeling I get when I am surviving against unholy abominations like the ones in the Resident Evil series or the Metro series or Dying Light, which is one of my favorite zombie games, or a horror movie where I'm watching the main character struggle to survive, or I'm seeing them witnessing all this terrifying stuff, whether it's Ghost or something like that, or it's the genre that provides me with the most comfort. And it doesn't provide me with comfort because it allows me to experience my fears in a controlled setting or none of that other bullshit. No, it provides me with the most comfort because it's the genre that I grew up with and the genre that I have bonded with for a very long time. I've bonded with this genre. I love the stories. I love how unique they are. Even if they're not unique, it's also the subject matter of the horror genre. I like that subject matter, whether it's serial killers or monsters or ghouls and ghosts and just things like that, or my personal favorite, I love folklore stories and just getting invested in some good old fashioned campfire legends. I'm not sure if you can understand why it provides me with so much comfort after everything I've said, but if I have to go on for more, then I just like that sense of adventure that the horror genre provides you with. And it's a type of adventure that the other genres simply just cannot do. It's the subject matter and the combination of the adventure that you could experience within the horror genre using its subject matter that, the horror genre has. Like I just said, like with folklore and like monsters and like zombies and things like that. Like, people find them cheesy sometimes or uninspired, but for me, it's what makes the horror genre special to me. Even if it's not special at all, it's why I love this genre. It's why it is my favorite genre of all time. And when it comes to horror games specifically, that sense of adventure is just amped up so much more. I love horror games now almost as much as I love horror movies or horror TV shows or even my favorite novels by Stephen King. I wish they would make some games based off of Stephen King's novels because I feel like some of his stories can make for really great games. But when it comes to horror games specifically, I just love being able to immerse myself in a terrifying adventure filled with not just thrill but also that narrative. It's like I said, it's the narrative is the most important thing for me. It's that narrative and the story and the concepts of the narrative that only the horror genre can provide. So, yeah, for me, that is why I love the horror genre. It is why it is my favorite genre of all time. It'll always be my favorite genre of all time. Um, and one thing that kind of actually pisses me off is when people who have no idea what the horror genre is like or how horror fans are, I hate how they like to come in here and they've played or watched like one horror movie or one horror game, and then they come up in this community or in this fandom, I guess you can say, and then they start running their mouth and giving their opinions on things about the horror genre that they don't like or things that they think should be changed. It's the classic example of an inexperienced person who doesn't know better coming in and thinking that they know what they're talking about, but really they sound really stupid when the people who are experienced hear what they're saying. Like, there's this one guy I watched on YouTube recently, this one fucking anime dude. Of course he likes anime, and he made like two videos talking about why Silent Hill 2 was boring and why Alan Wake 2 was boring, and I'm just like... And of course he's also one of those other anime dudes who every game they play, there has to be non-stop action. Like, here's the thing. The horror genre does have action, but it's also slow pace as well. Like, the horror genre is a very unique genre as well. The reason why it's not for everybody is because there's the one group of people who just can't handle it because they ain't got the heart for it, they ain't got the nerves for it, and they ain't got the pressure for it because it's just way too scary for them. Then there's the other group where it's not enough because it's too slow paced, or it's too disturbing, or it's too depressing and too dark and gritty, and it's not all fun and action adventure-y like their little animes and their Dragon Balls and their Spider-Mans and their Deadpools and their John Wicks. Like, I'm not saying I hate these people for enjoying their own genre, but horror is mine. This is my genre. It's all mine. This is my genre, and I love this genre. It's my favorite genre of all time, and you have your own favorite genre. So how would you like it if I walked in and started talking a bunch of nonsense about anime characters or Marvel characters? Like, I'm sure you wouldn't like it. So, it does kind of annoy me a bit when these casuals and these naysayers come in thinking that they know what the horror genre is just by watching one horror movie or playing one horror game. Like, no, you don't. You don't know what you're talking about. I grew up with this genre, and I have fallen in love with it. It is my favorite genre for very specific reasons, and I also hate how I try and label horror fans as like adrenaline junkies, because apparently people only like horror because of the way it makes them feel physically. Like, no. The horror genre is so incredibly underlooked. Or overlooked. I mean, I don't know how those I don't know how those words work, but correct me if I'm wrong if I just use those words in the wrong context. But anyways, the point is, people look at the horror genre and they truly have no idea how good this genre really is because they're too busy assuming nonsense about it. Like, for example, like, people will say that we like slashers because we're a bunch of sick, demented freaks who like to watch people get slaughtered. And while that may be true to a certain extent, that ain't the only reason. And then they'll think that horror is so dark and disturbing. Like, why would you want to watch something that's so unpleasant and so disturbing or scary and just all that nonsense? And I'm just like, this genre, like I said before, this genre is for a very specific group of people. Okay, people don't become horror fans just by watching a couple of films. My introduction into the horror genre is exactly the reason why I love it as much as I do today. Yes, those 3 films I mentioned traumatized me for life, except for The Exorcist, but the other 2 scared the shit out of me, of course. But I became a horror fan because of, 1, the way it made me feel, and 2, because I just enjoyed the stories. That storytelling and that sense of thrills and adventure and just the funness of it. If funness is even a word. Like that's why I love the horror genre. No other genre will ever come even close to how much I love this one, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud to be a horror fan, and I'm proud to be the horror nerd. I'm proud to be the biggest horror nerd on YouTube. But yeah, anyways, that about does it for this discussion video. If you guys stuck by all the way till the end, thank you so very much for watching the whole thing. 25 minutes long, so I know that this is like dramatically shorter compared to my last discussion video, but I mean, can you blame me? I mean, I'm only human. I can only upload and make videos for so long and film for so long, so, you know, but anyways, I'm sure you guys are understanding. I don't even know I'm saying this. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little discussion video. Again, a bit of a more personal one, but my next discussion video will be on a less personal topic and more popular one, I guess you can say. But yeah, thank you guys so very much. I love you guys. If you stuck by all the way till the very end, and even if you didn't, thank you for stopping by either way. I take what I can get, and I'm appreciative towards everyone for what they do, whether it's big or small. So just, I thank you guys in general for stopping by to the channel. That's all that matters to me. Just, you know, keeping me some company here on YouTube's horror section, and just enjoying my company as well, watching my videos, hearing my discussion videos. And yeah. Anyways, leave a comment down below as well. I love talking with you guys, and I love having discussions or debates in the comments with my fans, viewers, subscribers, in general. Doesn't matter. I love talking, interacting with you guys, so don't be a stranger. Leave a comment. Don't be afraid to. And yeah, if this video earned it, then please be sure to give it a like and possibly a share as well, and maybe a subscription for my channel as well if you want. I'm not forcing you guys, but yeah, anyways, once again, for the last time, thank you guys so very much for stopping by to YouTube's horror section once again. My name is Luke, aka The Horror Nerd, biggest horror fan on YouTube, and I will see you guys in the next video, whether it's a discussion video, gameplay video, whatever. I will see you guys next time, and hopefully very soon. Take care, y'all, and peace out.